Alright, hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is going to be another one where I play the recording and talk over it, because for some reason the audio always wants to reset at the beginning of every time I open up Streamlabs, and it changes the default, what's it called, audio input capture device as like something random, which doesn't actually work. So yeah, here goes, I'll play it and I'll just commentate during. Here, per usual, I'm just looking at my opponent, making sure they're not a computer-using player. The kind of things that you look for typically there are like, insanely high win rates, insanely high accuracies, new accounts. Whenever people have multiple games above like 95% accuracy, if there's one, I'd say that's fine. If there's like two or three, that's normally, kind of an anomaly. And you also have to look at the duration of the game. If you ever have a game that is, like 40 moves at 95% accuracy, then yeah, you gotta kind of take that with a grain of salt. But if it's, like a 5-move game, then it's fine if you have complete accuracy. That's all just book moves from that point. But what's happening in this game right now is I'm a little bit out of my theory, if you could call it that, because I'm not used to people playing F3. F3 in of itself is not the best move, just because it stunts your king's safety. So I don't think it's particularly good for that reason. And as of this point, when I looked it up with the engine later, and I will show you guys that because my audio turned back on, so I'll flip it back over to past me to explain that situation and part of the game to you. But I was kind of winning at this point. Not by a lot, but when you're black, you really shouldn't be winning whatsoever. But I do end up butchering the transition into the middle game, as you will see soon. But yeah, as of now, if I were to just look at the position from like a fresh pair of eyes, what I would see is that I have an isolated D-pawn. I do have very good development, but I'm pinned right now to my knight, so I don't think it's the most comfortable position, but it is still playable. Right, and now he's attacking both my knight a second time and the bishop. I attempt to kick his bishop, but I know it's probably just going to result in me having this awful pawn structure, and I'm actually not going to have a good side to castle to. And another spoiler, but the computer said that this position was more or less equal at this point after this capture goes through. As you can see, my pawn's structure is the worst it possibly could be. There's no safe spot for my king to reside, but the computer still thinks it's equal. Just because the computer says it's equal doesn't mean it's easy to play as a human. You can see how perplexed I look in this video right now as I'm like looking at myself. I'm trying to find a way to get my king to a safe-ish square. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm moving my queen out of the way so I could have the choice to either castle king or queen side. Yeah, I also have to adjust where my physical camera is because as you can see, as you can't see, my face is off to the side of the video. So I have since moved my camera, just that always falls off too sometimes. I just have it like perched on top of the one of my monitors, but the cable is like kind of taut. So if I like move weird or if like I get up too quick, then it might just fall. So I guess that's what happened this game. Because normally I think you still would have been able to see me even when I'm looking up close to concentrate. And yeah, as you can see in this game, trying my best to hold on and create some kind of defense. And I don't think I've done a terrible job, but it certainly is hard. My largest weakness by far right now for chess is that I have horrible opening repertoires as black. I mean, against e4 I've been doing okay, but when they go kind of off script like this, I kind of really drop the ball. And in this position especially, I mean, it's something that should be better for me. You know, move like f3 and the moves that he was making. That should just be flat out good for me. However, that just ends up not being the case because I fumble it pretty consistently. And now what he's aiming for is that f6 pawn. If he takes with the queen, I'm actually pretty content with that, because that would mean that I, only lose a pawn pretty much for my horrible positioning, and, it's still playable. I can still hold the draw pretty easily with a pawn down. I could still play for a win, potentially, if my endgame skills are better, and they have been improving, so certainly possible. But what's more than likely is that he's going to take that f6 pawn with his knight, and then he's going to, kind of wreak some more havoc on me. And right now what I'm thinking about is where I'm able to place my pieces to best be able to trade them off. However, there is no real good square for me to do so. It's really up to him on how he wishes to progress the position. So the reason I took there is just so when he takes, yeah, exactly what my arrow showed. When he takes on f6 with the knight, that I don't have to sweat losing the rook. And I don't think I draw an arrow here, but one of the moves I'm contemplating is rook to b8, and that's just to try to infiltrate a little bit and get that rook involved in the game, since right now it's not doing anything. But what rook b8 runs into is just b3, and then even me playing c4 would be kind of no bueno, because I just lose it. And that of itself isn't bad, because then he has 3 isolated pawns that I could target. But I would rather that c5 pawn, or c4 pawn, protect the d4/d3 advance. And I'm not happy with this move c4. However, I'm just hoping that he somehow blunders his plans and that I'm able to create a pass pawn threat out of it. And here my opponent actually makes what I would consider a mistake. And what this mistake is that he cashed in on his advantage too early. So he is still winning here. However, he could have crushed me a lot better. And I know none of you guys watch the positioning school videos, and I know that because it has like 1 view or 0 views or something. But the first chapter was all about winning your games, that are already won. And the author kind of outlines that you do not want to make sloppy moves when you're winning, for a couple of reasons, but the main one just being that those small sloppy moves will end up being inaccuracies and just good moves versus best moves, and the position will eventually equal out, and then you'll be fighting for even a draw at that point. and my opponent kind of did fall into this trap with that move. Because he got my rook for his knight, but if you remember where my knight was, or sorry, where my rook was, compared to where his knight was able to deliver a checkmate at any second, whereas my rook was in the middle of the board, or sorry, off to the side of the board, doing absolutely nothing. And now I have initiative again, because now I would say that I'm playing for the win, because I have 3 pieces that could be involved into an attack, that being the passed pawn, my queen, and my knight, compared to just his rook and his queen. Computer probably still favors him, but it is what it is. And right now I'm just trying to figure out the best way to infiltrate this position. And taking the pawn on b2, even though it's tempting, doesn't actually do anything for me. I'd rather improve my position slowly. Which is why I get my queen all the way to f2. And that was a move that I thought was very, very weird and off. Just because he allows me to play d2 and, just crawl further into his position. And I'm not saying he can't still stop that pawn. Like, he could still put his rook right back onto d1 if he wants to. Maybe not this move exactly, because I would have queen to e1. But in general, I mean, he could still kind of stop the threats that I have. But he's going to have to spend more tempo to do so, which in turn helps me get my pieces better positioned. And now, however, is where I need to be careful, because, yeah, his queen is going to start checking me, and I have to make sure that I do not ever allow my knight and my king to be in the same line of attack by the queen, because I will quite simply just lose the, what's it called? My knight, and then it's no shot for me to win this. Something else I've been thinking about, if you could see my cursor now, I can't draw arrows. Alright. My past me is drawing arrows, not knowing that future me wants to explain something, but pretend this knight goes here instead and he captures. Then I could have check, blocks, I could have a repetition right here. So I was trying to move my king out of the way of this G line, just to have that opportunity. But it seemed like the way that the queen was checking me and where I wanted to go to the sides, it just wasn't plausible. Because I would end up losing the knight. And I thought that b3 was a very waiting move, because I was content with a draw right here, so I was just going side to side. This guy is playing for the win, and he sees that my time is low, so he just wants a move to occur. However, that move is, losing, unfortunately. And that's just going to be mate. I don't remember if he gave me the mate or if he resigned, but yeah, he gave it to me. And then I reviewed the game, and at first I was going to show you all this. However, I'm not going to make you sit through it, because I kind of went over like some of the engine analysis right now, retroactively. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, I do apologize that the sound is just not working with me, but I'll make sure I double check before I start up any game here on out.